I never thought my life would change because of something as ordinary as a creak in the floor. For years, my room had been the safest, dullest place in the house, a quiet corner where I kept my books, my half-broken guitar, and the childhood toys I never had the heart to throw away. But everything shifted on a rainy night when I discovered that the floor beneath my bed wasn't just wood and dust. It was hiding something else. I should start from the beginning. I grew up in a small town where nothing exciting ever happened. You know, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, and the only thing that changes are the posters on the notice board outside the library. My parents worked long hours, and I spent most of my time in my room inventing adventures in my head to fill the emptiness of the real world. My room was my kingdom, though it was far from perfect. The paint was peeling near the window. My desk was cluttered with papers and broken pens, and under my bed there was always a shadow I never paid attention to. Just dust, old socks, maybe a forgotten notebook or two. Or so I thought. That night, the rain tapped against the glass, steady and relentless. I couldn't sleep. My mind wandered, as it often did, into strange places. I grabbed a book from my shelf, but when I shifted my weight on the mattress, I heard it creak, not the normal kind of creak that old wooden floors make, but something hollow. I froze. My heart picked up its pace. I pressed my foot harder against the side of the bed. Creak, thunk, like there was space beneath. Not just solid ground. I leaned over the side of my bed, lifted the blanket that draped lazily toward the floor, and peered into the darkness underneath. My eyes took a moment to adjust. At first, it was just the usual shadows, dust, a long-forgotten shoebox. But then, right near the middle, I noticed something different, a square outline in the floorboards. It was subtle, like a frame etched into the wood. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, then lowered myself to the ground. My fingers traced along the lines. They weren't cracks. They were deliberate. It was a door under my bed. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at it, torn between fascination and fear. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it might shake the walls. Who builds a door under a bedroom floor? And why had I never noticed it before? The rain outside grew heavier, thunder rolling in the distance. The whole world seemed to lean in, waiting for me to make a choice. I could have ignored it. I could have gone back to bed, pulled the covers over my head, and convinced myself it was just my imagination. But that's not who I am. Curiosity has always been my downfall and my gift, so I pressed my nails against the edge of the square and tried to lift. It didn't budge. My palms grew sweaty. I shifted positions, dug my fingers harder. Then, with a sudden snap, the wood lifted, revealing a dark gap beneath. A puff of stale air hit my face, carrying with it the scent of earth and something metallic. I coughed, waving my hand. My heart was a hammer in my chest. The gap yawned open like a mouth, waiting to swallow me whole inside. There was a ladder, the kind you'd see in old basements, metal, rusty, disappearing into shadows below. I leaned closer. Straining to see, darkness was thick, alive. I could hear something faint, almost like a whisper. Drifting up from the depths, I snapped the door shut. For the rest of the night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed with my blanket pulled up to my chin, staring at the ceiling, listening. Sound seemed louder, the ticking of the clock, the rain on the roof, the occasional groan of the house, but beneath it all, I swore I could still hear that whisper. The next morning, sunlight poured into my room, bright and ordinary, as if nothing had happened. But I couldn't shake it. At school, I barely paid attention. My friends joked, laughed, passed notes. None of it reached me. My mind kept drifting back to the ladder, the darkness, the breath of air that smelled of secrets. When I got home, I rushed upstairs, threw my backpack on the chair, and dropped to the floor. The square was still there, waiting. I told myself, this time, I'll just look. No more. I lifted the door again. The stale air greeted me, though it wasn't as harsh in the daylight. I leaned down, holding my phone flashlight toward the hole. The light cut into the darkness, revealing stone walls below. The ladder stretched maybe 20 feet down, leading to what looked like a tunnel. My hand trembled. I almost closed it again, but then I thought, what if this is meant for me? That idea struck me harder than fear. All my life, I'd wanted something extraordinary, something to break the monotony. Maybe this was it. I lowered one foot onto the ladder. It groaned under my weight, but held another step, and another. My breath was shaky, but I kept going. The light from my room grew smaller above me, until finally I reached the bottom. My sneakers hit solid ground. The tunnel was narrow, the air damp. The walls were made of stone, carved with patterns I didn't recognize. My flashlight beam slid across them, revealing shapes, circles, spirals. Something like runes. I swallowed hard. The whisper came again. This time, it was clearer. A voice. Not loud, not sharp. Gentle. Almost inviting. Come. My skin prickled. I turned in a slow circle, the beam of light trembling with my hand. No one was there. Just walls, stone, shadows. But the voice had come from deeper in the tunnel. I should have gone back. Any sane person would have gone back. But my feet carried me forward. Each step echoed, soft and haunting. I don't know how long I walked. Tunnel seemed endless, curving downward, deeper and deeper into the earth. My flashlight flickered once, and I almost screamed. Then I reached it, a door, not like the wooden one under my bed. This was ancient, made of black iron, tall and arched, with carvings across its surface that glowed faintly in the dark. The whisper rose again, stronger now. Come. My hand reached out, almost against my will, and touched the cold metal. The carvings pulsed beneath my fingers, and the door shuddered. It began to open. The black iron door groaned as it opened, the sound echoing through the tunnel like the grinding of ancient bones. A rush of air surged past me, cold and damp, carrying with it the scent of earth and something electric, like the sharp sting of lightning before a storm. I froze, my hand still pressed against the carvings that pulsed faintly beneath my skin. For a moment, I wanted to turn back, to scramble up the ladder and slam the trapdoor shut forever. But the door had already opened far enough for me to see, and what I saw held me captive. Beyond the door stretched a cavern so vast my flashlight couldn't capture its full size. Crystals jutted from the walls, glowing in shades of blue and violet, casting fractured light across the space. An underground river shimmered, its surface rippling with reflections of things I couldn't quite see. I stepped forward, one shaky foot at a time, my sneakers crunching on the stone. The door behind me groaned again and then slammed shut. Spun around in panic, but it was gone. The iron door had melted back into the stone wall as if it had never existed. My breath caught in my throat. I was trapped. For a long moment, I stood there in silence, listening. The cavern hummed faintly, a sound that wasn't mechanical or natural, but alive. And then the whisper came again. Come. It was louder now, not drifting, but direct, pulling me deeper into the cavern. I swallowed hard, tightened my grip on my flashlight, and followed the sound. The cavern opened into a series of stone pathways, some leading across narrow bridges over the glowing river, others vanishing into tunnels lined with crystals. I moved cautiously, my light scanning everything, my pulse hammering in my ears. That's when I saw them. At first, I thought they were shadows cast by the crystals, but then they moved. Figures, tall, thin, with glowing white eyes that hovered in the mist. They didn't approach. They didn't flee. They only watched me, silent and still. My throat went dry. "Hello," I whispered, though I wasn't sure why. My voice sounded small, swallowed instantly by the vastness of the cavern. The figures tilted their heads in eerie unison, as though studying me. Then, as if obeying a silent command, they faded back into the mist. I wanted to chase them, to demand answers, but my legs wouldn't move. Instead, I followed the whisper, which was guiding me down another path, into a chamber carved entirely of stone. The chamber walls pulsed with symbols, the same kind I had seen in the tunnel, only brighter. Spirals, circles, runes glowing with a soft golden light. At the center stood a pedestal, and on it rested an object. It looked like a key, but not like any key I had ever seen. It was metallic, long and twisted, with teeth shaped like the runes, glowing on the walls. As I approached, the whisper changed. Hush! It no longer called me forward. It repeated a single word. Take. I hesitated, staring at the key. My instinct screamed danger, but my curiosity, the same one that had driven me down here in the first place, overpowered everything else. I reached out and wrapped my fingers around the key. The cavern trembled. The glowing symbols on the walls flared brightly, then dimmed. From somewhere deep within the tunnels, I heard movement, the sound of countless feet rushing closer. The whisper turned sharp. Run. I didn't wait. I bolted from the chamber, clutching the key, my flashlight beam shaking wildly. Behind me, shadows surged. The figures were no longer watching. They were chasing. Their glowing eyes pierced the darkness, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Their movements were jerky, inhuman. Like puppets with tangled strings, my lungs burned as I sprinted across the stone bridges, nearly slipping into the glowing river below. The sound of the rushing feet grew louder, echoing everywhere. I found myself in a tunnel narrower than the cavern, the walls pressing close. I could hear them right behind me, whispering in a chorus now, their voices sharp and urgent. Come, 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 come. I pushed forward, my chest heaving. My flashlight flickered, again threatening to go out. And then, ahead of me, I saw it another door. This one wasn't black iron, it was wooden. Old, rotting, like something you'd see in an abandoned house. But it was the only way forward. I slammed into it with my shoulder, the wood cracking. Behind me, the whispers rose to a scream. I hit the door again, harder, and it gave way. I stumbled through, fell to the floor, spun around. The door slammed shut. Silence. I sat there, gasping for breath. The key still clutched tightly in my hand. My flashlight beam trembled across the room. This chamber was different, smaller. The walls weren't stone. They were wallpaper. I blinked in confusion. The wallpaper was faded, peeling, patterned with little flowers. A dusty wooden dresser stood in the corner. A cracked mirror leaned against the wall. I knew this room. It was my grandmother's bedroom, but she had died years ago. And her house had been sold, torn down. I stumbled to my feet, heart racing, eyes darting across the room. Nothing made sense. I was underground, yet I stood in a room that shouldn't exist anymore. The whisper came again, soft now, almost tender. You have the key. Now find the lock. The mirror rattled, and for a split second, I thought I saw something staring back at me. Not my reflection, but something darker, something waiting. I backed away, clutching the key to my chest. My breath came in short gasps. What had I done? The mirror rattled again, louder this time, shaking in its wooden frame. Dust fell from the corners of the ceiling. I staggered back until I hit the wall, my grip tightening on the twisted key in my hand. My reflection wavered in the cracked glass, but it wasn't me. The thing in the mirror looked like me, but its eyes were glowing white, the same as the figures in the cavern. Its lips moved before mine did. You brought it, it said in a voice that was both mine and not mine. I shook my head, throat dry. What are you? The reflection tilted its head the way the shadowy figures had, then smiled, a smile that didn't belong on my face. The door chose you. The key belongs to you. But you don't yet understand what you've opened. The mirror quivered, and cracks spiderwebbed across the glass. My chest tightened as the whispering chorus began again. Not in the cavern this time. Come, 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 come. I clutched the key tighter, desperate for answers. What do you want from me? The reflection leaned closer to the glass, its face distorting. To unlock what should never be unlocked. And then the mirror shattered. Shards of glass exploded outward, tinkling like deadly raindrops across. The floor, I shielded my face with my arms, heart hammering. When I lowered them, the reflection was gone, replaced by a yawning blackness where the mirror had been. A doorway. The same voice whispered again. Softer now. Find the lock. I don't. Know why I stepped closer? Every instinct screamed to run, to claw my way back up the ladder, to pretend none of this had ever happened. But the doorway pulled at me, key in my hand vibrating as though alive. I leaned forward and stepped through. Instantly, the world shifted. I was no longer in my grandmother's bedroom. I stood in a vast hall, walls lined with towering pillars of stone. At the far end loomed a throne carved from black rock, glowing faintly with the same runes I had seen everywhere. On the throne sat a figure. It wasn't shadowy like the others. It was solid, tall, cloaked in darkness, its face hidden by a hood, but its eyes blazed with the same white fire. You have what is mine, the figure said, its voice filling the hall like thunder. I took a step back, clutching the key against my chest. I don't even know what this is. The figure stood, and the ground trembled. It is the first of many. A power buried and forgotten. And you, child of dust, were foolish enough to take it. My hands shook. Then take it back. I threw the key onto the floor. It clattered, the sound echoing. The figure tilted its head. It does not work. That way, once claimed, it is bound to you, its burden, and its curse. Before I could respond, the hall filled with movement. The shadowy figures emerged from the mist between the pillars, surrounding me in a wide circle. Their glowing eyes fixed on me, unblinking. The figure on the throne stretched out a hand. Give me the lock, and perhaps I will let you live. I shook my head, heart racing. I don't know where it is. The figure's voice grew colder. You will. The key blazed in my hand, the runes on its twisted body glowing gold. Images flooded my mind, flashes of doors, mirrors, tunnels, and worlds layered beneath worlds. The lock wasn't a thing. It was a choice, and I had already turned it. The shadows surged forward, their whispers rising into a scream. I stumbled backward, raising the key like a weapon, though I didn't know how to use it. The air around me pulsed with energy. The walls of the hall trembling. Then, without thinking, I slammed the key into the ground. A shockwave tore through the hall. The figures shrieked, scattering like smoke. Gloat being roared. The runes on the throne flaring white-hot. Cracks split the floor. A light pouring through as though the ground itself was breaking apart. I was falling when I opened my eyes. I was back in my bedroom. The morning sun streamed through the window, warm and ordinary. My bed was unmade, my desk cluttered, my guitar still leaning in the corner. For a moment, I thought it had all been a dream, but then I felt the weight in my hand. The key. I sat on the floor, staring at it, my heart pounding. The trapdoor under. My bed was gone, no outline, no creak, just solid wooden boards. But the key pulsed faintly in my palm, as if alive. The whisper came again. Faint, but undeniable. This is only the beginning.